Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into the missing 7%, decoding the fingerprint of the universe. We're looking at an absolute thriller of a cosmic mystery hidden inside a mathematical framework called unified dynamics. You see, there's this gap, a tiny, highly specific gap in our understanding of reality that might just be the most important mathematical fingerprint in the universe. To really wrap our heads around this mystery, we have to start with this unimaginably small number, 10 to the power of negative 122. In physics, this is the scale of the cosmological constant, often denoted as lambda. It's basically the energy density of the vacuum of space itself. Now, unified dynamics predicts this lambda scale using a beautiful, bare mathematical formula that contains absolutely zero free parameters. Zero. There are no human-fitted numbers here, no tweaking to make it work. It's just pure, raw geometry predicting the exact scale of the cosmos. But, well, here's the massive elephant in the room. When you actually run that near-perfect bare formula, it doesn't match our observed reality perfectly. It's frustratingly off, by exactly 7%. And that brings us to the very core of this whole cosmic mystery. I mean, ask yourself, how could a mathematical framework with literally zero fitted numbers, derived entirely from pure geometry, have such a specific, glaring 7% gap? Is the theory just fundamentally broken? Or is the universe actually trying to tell us something about how it was built? Let's investigate exactly where this 7% comes from. Okay, let's define our playing fields. In unified dynamics, we have this foundational geometric building block of the universe's mass called the support weight, or S0. S0 has an exact structural value of 43/7. You can kind of think of this as the minimal memory that a closed physical structure retains of how it was originally formed. Everything in this entire framework builds directly on this very number. According to the theory, reality builds itself up geometrically through these specific subsectors. It's like a progression. We start at step 1 with K1, which is just a simple 1D line. Then it graduates to K2, a 2D triangle. Next up is K3, a 3D tetrahedron. And finally, we hit K4. This is the fully locked, volumetric Big Bang level. The universe as we know it essentially ignites when the geometry reaches that K4 level. Now, when we look at the actual numbers, a completely fascinating pattern emerges. Take a look at how these stack up. When the Big Bang happened at the K4 level, those earlier subsectors K2 and K3 didn't just quietly vanish. Notice the fractions in that second column? They're based on a core distinction number called delta, which equals exactly 7. Because of how this geometry stacks, K2 and K3 actually pushed massively past their own closure thresholds. Look right there at the excess beyond 1 column. By the time K4 ignites, K2 has passed its threshold by 5/2, and K3 has passed its threshold by 3/4. So they accumulated this massive amount of excess geometric weight. So the absolutely crucial point here is captured perfectly in this quote from the source material. That frustrating 7% gap in lambda, it isn't a glitch, it's not a mistake, and it is definitely not a simulation correction. It's what's called a regime correction recursion. It's literally the heavy footprint of these lower geometric shapes, K1 through K3, bleeding their excess accumulated influence directly into the master equation at the K4 Big Bang level. Now, watch what happens when we do the math on that excess, because this is the real aha moment. If we take the specific excesses of K2 and K3, multiply them so they're weighted by their relative rates of contraction, and then add them together, we get 5/6 plus 1/2. The result? Exactly 4/3. Now, why is that huge? Because 4/3 is the exact gravity relaxation factor derived from a completely independent argument elsewhere in unified dynamics. I really want to pause for a second and highlight why this is such a game changer. This jaw-dropping mathematical synergy proves that the theory is literally solving itself organically. You have the geometric excess of lower dimensions perfectly summing up to the macroscopic gravitational relaxation factor. There is absolutely zero human fitting going on here. The mathematics are just deeply, flawlessly, internally consistent. So let's plug this incredible discovery back into our base support weight, S0. By applying that exact 4/3 relaxation factor to our base value of 43/7, the math yields a precise fractional correction of 28/129. That very specific fraction is the exact numerical footprint of those lower K sectors structurally influencing the entire universe. And when we plug this regime correction recursion back into our original bare formula, watch what happens. The error plummets from a concerning 7% down to an astonishing 0.07%. Let that sink in. We are talking about a bare formula that predicts a value spanning 120 orders of magnitude, and just by accounting for the geometric buildup of the universe, the error effectively vanishes. Let's take a step back and look at the macro view for a second, because this incredible resolution leaves us with a really profound question. Is this specific 7% fix just, convenient numerical breathing room? Just a mathematical coincidence that miraculously makes the equation work? Or does the number 7 itself hold a much deeper secret to the fundamental structure of reality? Well, as it turns out, the number 7 is crazy recursive throughout unified dynamics. It shows up everywhere in these foundational roles. Structurally, it's the core distinction number, delta. Cosmologically, the Big Bang uniquely locks in at exactly level n equals 7. Dynamically, it controls the 7 levels of IFS contraction depth, which is basically the fractal-like folding of space. Physically, it even dictates the QCD running rate for the strong nuclear force. And mathematically, it provides the exact 1/7th normalization fraction in our support weight. The number 7 literally dictates the shape of the universe across all these domains. Let's hone in on that last point for a second. S0 equals 43 over 7. We can easily write that out as the integer 6 plus the fraction 1/7. I want to draw your attention right to that 1/7 fractional overhang. That specific fractional part, interacting with the integer part, creates the exact lambda normalization. That is the very thing that produces the 7% offset in the bare cosmological constant formula to begin with. The 7% gap is born directly from the 1/7 fraction. And this, right here, brings us to the ultimate realization of our cosmic investigation. That initial 7% error we started with? Actually, scratch that. It was never an error at all. As the source material so beautifully states, it is the fingerprint of the universe written into the normalization. It was literally the foundational DNA of the cosmos, showing its mathematical work, echoing that very same number 7 that made the Big Bang happen in the first place. So the big takeaway for us today is that our universe isn't built on random arbitrary constants that physicists just have to guess at and endlessly tweak. It's built on a rigid, recursive geometric logic that perfectly, beautifully balances itself. And it leaves me with this final provocative thought for you. If a single geometric number, 7, controls the ignition of the Big Bang, dictates the strong nuclear force, and perfectly corrects the vacuum energy of space, what else is hiding in the math? Thanks for exploring this mystery with me, and keep questioning the cosmos.